Sairam para bakta sekalian. Sairam hangat untuk Anda semua. Saya Denny Nathani, host di program terbaru dan spesial media Sai Indonesia yang berjudul My Baba and I. Judul yang indah ini akan memberikan kita gambaran mengenai makna dari program ini. My Baba and I. Ya, program ini akan memberikan Anda sebuah dosis bulanan tentang pengalaman indah suami dengan murid-murid dan baktanya. Pada episode pertama ini, kita akan menyaksikan pengalaman indah dan singkat dari saudara Rabi Kumar. Jadi, mari kita semua memperhatikan dengan baik sambil menikmati kisah yang tak terlupakan bersama Baguan terkasih. Saya
1978 in my third standard. That itself was a wonderful journey. How my parents and I came to Ooty, and against my mother's wishes, because she didn't want to let go of her child, and with my father's wishes, who wanted me to get a wonderful education in Swami's school. So with both these things against him, Swami had my name as the last name in the list of people who got into Ooty. So mother was hopeful till 29 names, and then she found my name as the 30th name. So anyway, that happened, and the very first day that I joined Ooty, we were sitting in a hall. We were about 90 kids, and then Swami, I was at the back of the hall, I was the last line, and then Swami looked at me and said, a monkey cap. That's how he called me, because it was Ooty and wearing a monkey cap. Most of the kids were wearing, so everyone was wearing a monkey cap. So I looked around, and then Swami pointed to me from his throne and said, "You monkey cap, get up." And so I stood up. I was 7 years old, and then he said, "Sing something." So that was the first day that I was physically interacting with Swami, and he said, "Sing something." I think that actually set off this wonderful journey that I have had, from 1978 till today. How many years? It's been nearly 40 years, 38 years. But that literally set the tone, musically speaking, for this journey of mine. And so there were about 2-3 of us who used to sing whenever Swami would visit Ooty. And Ooty was a wonderful place. Like Swami says, Brindavan is his playground. Ooty was like, I don't know, it was a place where all his children were in those days. All his little children, and this Sai Mata would come and then just shower all his love and time with all of us. So this was I I was in my 4th standard, and Swami was visiting Ooty, and my teacher said that we'll have some songs. We also had a drama in which I played a part as a nurse or something, I vaguely remember. But there was this song which my teachers thought that it would be a good idea if I sang a Tamil song, because I was a Tamilian and the school was in Ooty and everything put together. Not that I was good at Tamil, I was still learning Tamil, but they thought, okay. So there were this set of songs on Lord Muruga that we used to listen to at home. It is a favorite set of bhajans that my father used to listen. So one of those songs I would like a lot. And so I just asked my teachers, there is this song on Lord Muruga, what if we change the words to our Swami? And then they said, yes, why not, we can do it. So I asked my parents, and they wrote back a letter with changed wordings which would suit Swami. So and then I sang that in front of Swami when he came. That was probably the first music program, you would say. I was in my 4th standard, and the words were changed to become like this. It was in Tamil, Manna naalum partipuriyil mannaveen, oru maramaanalum Brindavanathil maramaveen, and it would go on like this. So what it essentially means is that if I were to become mud or dust or sand, I would become mud very happily in Puttaparthi. If I were to become a tree, I would most gladly become a tree in Brindavan of Swami. And that is how it would go on. If I were to become this, I would become so in Swami's place, and etc. So that was a theme. But being a little boy, you don't understand the theme behind the whole thing. But I definitely understood what it meant, that I would want to be in Puttaparthi. even if it were to be like grass or mud or whatever. And then later on when I studied in Vrindavan, I understood. That time we had this Sai shed in Vrindavan when I studied there in the 1980s. So there was that beautiful tree, and the Sai shed was built around that tree. And somehow in my mind, no, that was the tree I wanted to be. You know, that was the tree around which Swami would go around and give his beautiful darshans and magical days. So that song and its meaning, I realized much later that what I prayed as a little child, no, Swami has granted me that. The blessing to be at Puttaparthi and the blessing to have been under that wonderful tree at his Vrindavan and enjoy all his leelas in his playground in Vrindavan. So that was something that happened in my 4th standard. And after 5th standard, you know, there was no, the primary school, the school in OT did not continue. So we all came here, and we were the first batch of children who came to the Ishwaram High School in 1981. It was a Telugu medium school. So Swami said, let there be an English medium for these kids, because all our parents came here and they prayed to Swami. So then started the journey in Puttaparthi actually from Ooty. So in Ooty, Swami was the loving mother always. That was the bond between all of us. I still remember we would sit in the prayer hall, which was just outside the door from which Swami would come. Swami would stay in a room in the 1st floor, and there were these wooden steps. You know, Ooty, it was a colonial building. So the steps that led to Swami's room were wooden steps, and we would sit outside that door with pin drop silence. Like I said, we were about 90 kids, and we would just wait. It's very difficult to keep a bunch of 90 kids silent, but then our teachers managed that. And that little creak, you know, Swami is so light on his feet, and yet those you know, wooden steps would creak a little. And then we would become alert. This is when Swami is going to come. And then Swami would come down, and then he is a mother with all his children. He would, in fact, at nights, because it was cold, after we had gone to sleep, we would sleep by 7:30 or 8. He would come after that. Our teachers have told us, we wouldn't even know. Like mothers wouldn't let their children know what they are doing for their children. In a similar way, Swami would come around to the dormitory where we are sleeping, and if any of us had kicked our blankets off, as many kids would, he would take the blanket and cover all of us, you know, in that cold. That was that Mother Sai for us. And I remember one dining session, he came, stood next to me, and he asked, how's the food? I said, Swami, food is nice. And then they would serve us rasam rice at night. And he asked me, is the rasam rice hot? I felt the rasam rice and I told him, no. You know, as you grow up, you would probably learn to say, oh no, it's okay. But as a child, you're innocent and you're as truthful can be. So I said, no, Swami. Then Swami would call one of the teachers. He said, hey, come here. See, this fellow's rasam rice is cold. Get some hot rasam rice and put it on the. Swami, you know, this is how he took care of all of us in the OT school.
Saudara-saudara, bukankah tadi merupakan pengalaman yang menghangatkan hati? Swami memang benar Ibu Ilahi yang Maha Cipta. Betapa diberkatinya kita untuk mengetahui adanya keilahian seperti itu. Jika Anda menyukai episode seperti ini, maka saksikan terus episode mendatang yang akan membahas berbagai pengalaman berharga bersama Sai. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan Media Sai Indonesia, dan sampai jumpa di episode selanjutnya. Jaya Sai.